Welcome to the Book Boyfriend podcast, where we dish on everything from the alpha male to the sensitive soul. If you found yourself lusting after a fictional character, you've come to the right place. Here's your hosts, Faith Andrews, Elizabeth Grace, Livia Jamerland, and B.A. Wolf.
Hi everyone, I'm Livia Jamerland, and we are here for the Book Boyfriend podcast. As you know, this is episode 5, and we will be discussing the amazing Love in Spanish by our lovely, dearly, amazing author, Karina Halle. If you listened to our episode 4, you heard that she was on with us, or not that she was on, that we discussed her book, Love in English, which was the first part, and we are continuing with Love in Spanish. Now, if you have not read Love in English, you kind of need to before you hear this podcast. But if you have read Love in English and you want to know exactly what happens in Love in Spanish, stay tuned. We're really not going to give that much spoilers away. But I mean, if you read the blurb, you kind of know what happens. So before we get started, I wanted to go right ahead and kind of let you know what we're doing, what we've been up to. You know, usually we try to tape every 2 weeks just to keep everybody in the loop. So I will go first. As of now, contingent is with the editor. Nothing new's been going on. I write here and there of a story I'm kind of working on, but besides that, nothing really great. What about you, Faith? What are you working on? What do you want to tell us?
I am still kind of stagnant from the last time we spoke, but stagnant can be good. I'm working on spin-offs of the last release I had, Feel Again. I'm doing a novella that just kind of popped into my head for kind of like a prequel to the story based on Gabriella and her first husband's how they met and, you know, their love story. And I'm working on a spin-off of Gabriella's daughter and Caleb's best friend Jack. So I'm working on that, kind of like Liv said, when the breeze blows the right way. And that's what I'm working on right now. What about you, Babs?
Same story. I feel like, I'm just kind of floating with the wind right now, drinking happy juice, drinking wine, just rolling. No, really though, I've been doing really well. I started writing 2 stories at one time. I'm working on my super secret whip, and I've also been working a little bit on Moose and Mel, which is a spin-off for my Keaton series, Away and Stay. Very excited for both of those. I just love all my men. So how about you, Elle? What's been going on?
Well, I think I'm the only productive one in the group.
Someone's gotta be.
Yeah. No, so Collateral Damage is finished being written. The line edits are done. And my line editor is just giving one final pass through, and then it'll be proofed, and it's going to come out on February 14th. No, 19th. And then I've been working a little bit on Indecision, which is the it's not really a prequel to Indiscretion, but it's Jackie's story from Indiscretion, and that'll be in Brendan Novak's diabetes fundraiser in May.
Yay!
Yeah. All right. I think that kind of gives you what we are all doing. Clearly, you know, 1/4 of us is actually working, and the rest of us are just kind of slacking off. So why don't we just get into Love in Spanish? First, I have to say that Karina Halle is an amazing writer. I love her completely. This is the second book of her I read. Love in English was the first one. She is a talented writer, so if you have not read these books, pick them up. What I loved most about them, they were tangible. That's what I really connected with them. It wasn't like, oh, he's an alpha or he's like a superhero. They felt regular. They felt like not regular people, but just they could have been my friends. That's kind of what I'm going with. So here's the blurb. She sat beside me on the bus, and she changed my whole life. Successful, wealthy, and absurdly handsome, Spanish ex-football player Mateo Casalles seemed like he had it all: a high society wife, an adorable little girl, and a flashy apartment in Madrid and Barcelona only sweetened the deal. But there was more to Mateo than we met the eye, a life of uncertainty and regret that colored his black and white world. That was until Vera Miles came into his life like a shooting star. Tattooed, wild, and young, Vera seemed like Mateo's polar opposite at first. but you can't choose who you fall in love with. And two lost souls did everything they could to be together while suffering the grave consequences. Now, with Mateo divorced and living in Madrid with Vera, there is a whole new set of challenges and setbacks facing a couple and rocking the foundation of their star-crossed relationship. Unfortunately for them, the brighter the star, the faster they burn. So, synopsis kind of tells you what happened, so we're not technically going to spoil anything for you. In Love in Spanish, in Love in English, this is so going to confuse us, so you know. In Love in English, he meets Vera, he falls in love with Vera, ends up leaving his wife, and now they're together, and they're living in Madrid. Their love was beautiful, but it was, it was the kind of love you could see from anywhere, especially, oh my God, you have to read this book to understand Karina's writing. She is poetic in a sense. Like it's really hard for me to connect with a book that is completely in a male's point of view, because as a girl, like I want to know what a girl's feeling, but she did a beautiful job writing him. You kind of read how they become one, how they go from the struggles of dealing with the paparazzi that follow them, how it's challenging to deal with Mateo and his ex-wife, and you deal with Vera, who's 20-something years old, kind of having to step in and be the stepmom to his little daughter Chloe Ann. In this book, we also learn how difficult it is to be happy when everybody is hoping that it crumbles beneath you. That really is what you can really say about the book without spoiling exactly what happens. Let's see, what else did I put here on my notes to read to everybody? So, to me, like I said before, these characters are real, and their stories seem tangible. Didn't seem, and I think I actually read where Karina said that, she had, the story came to her from personal experience she had, not that she was Vera or that she was Mateo. I'm not saying that at all, but I guess, she has traveled a lot, and, that's, I guess, why she can describe it so realistic. So why don't we get into our favorite parts and scenes? Babs, what was your favorite part?
So I have a couple. I will say that the letter, which is going to be basically the opening of the book, was the big part for me, because I left off Love in English kind of upset with Mateo in a way. Not really kind of. I was really upset. I didn't really understand where he was coming from. So to me, that letter was absolutely needed. I needed to see where he was coming from, why he said the things he did, why he did the things he did. So that letter was probably one of my favorite parts. I love letters, as y'all know, but that one was a really big one for me. And then I also love every time he comes home. Can we say hot Mateo sex? Every single time the man comes home, he gets sex. Dude, what is this? It was awesome. And then my favorite part was him in a mullet wig, which if you haven't gotten to that part or if you've read it, it's probably one of them. I could not picture him walking down the street with a mullet to save my life. I would love to see that. But they end up getting costumes, and I'm sure maybe we'll go over this more, but he buys them disguises, and so obviously he comes home with these bags full of costumes, and Vera's like, role play? And he goes, no, we're getting out of the house. And so he puts on a wig, and she puts on a wig, and it's quite comical. So those were my favorite scenes. How about you, Elle?
I had a hard time with this question only because, not because I didn't have any favorite parts, but because I think that my favorite part of the book wasn't like a specific scene. It was more being in his POV, like overall. I remember when I first read the book on Goodreads, I had put in my review that Mateo had the soul of a poet, because like that's how Karina wrote him. Like he was just poetic, and the things, like the way he thought of Vera, like in his own headspace when he's thinking about her, not even when he's like verbalizing to her, that was like my favorite part of it. So it's not like one specific scene, it's just how he thought of Vera in his own like headspace. So what about you, Faith?
For me, if I'm going to be honest, and I'm always honest, I liked Love in English better only because, I don't know, I felt like there was more action going on. That being said, I simply adored being in Mateo's head. I feel like we really learned who he was in this book. So again, like Elle said, it's not that I had a favorite part. I just enjoyed him. I enjoyed him and learning who he was, because to me in the first book he was so enigmatic and like sexy and mysterious, and you don't really know much about him other than that he's this sexy man. And then here you're figuring out who he is, and not only are you figuring out who he is, but as put together as he is, this older man who's supposed to be so sophisticated, he desperately, desperately, desperately loves Vera. Like, you can read it in everything he says, how nervous he is to lose her and everything. And I think if I had to pick a part that shows how desperately in love he is with her, is a quote from that letter that Bob was talking about in the beginning. And he kept it with him. I love how he kept it with him when the going got tough, and he always had to look back at it to make sure he knew, that he was fighting for the right reasons. So my favorite line from that would be, I would have walked over burning coals for you just to have you in my arms. I would have put the whole world in jeopardy just to be inside you again. And I think that just shows how desperate he was for this woman, regardless of everything else he had been through. So for me, favorite part is the book. It's being in his head. What about you, Liv?
This was hard for me to choose because I agree with everyone. I agree with the letter. I love that part. I love letters. Barb makes me cry with them all the time. I agree with Elle, which, he was poetic and beautiful and everything else. And Jess, I completely agree. Love in English, there was so much more suspense. It was just like, oh my God, oh my God. And then Love in Spanish, you're like, they're going through the struggles every relationship goes through. So, of course, I have to pick the sex because, that's me. I loved them. Like, they weren't oversaturated. It wasn't like every other chapter. Like, I know Barb kind of said, every time he came home, but he didn't come home that often. I mean, I would want him to come home a lot more if he was mine.
Or sometimes it was just kind of insinuated, but yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not like, he never came home, but he did, but it was just the way he was. Like, it's really hard for me to read a male's point of view as they're having sex and actually enjoy it, because I connect more with the female's point of view, because it's like that's how I would experience it. I kind of try to put myself in that character. But, Karina did such a wonderful job writing the way he would, like, caress her. It was just like Elle said, he was poetic, like the way he described her body, how she was perfect and flawless and beautiful. It was just, like she said in Love in English, in Spain, they don't fuck. They make love and fuck at the same time. And that was hotcakes and deliciousness. It was delicious. So why don't we move to, right into it, why don't we talk about the moment you fell even more in love with Mateo? Because since we did speak about him in Love in English, which we did 2 weeks ago, we told you why we fell in love with him. We fell in love with him when he said, you to me is what love is in English. So what made you fall in love with him even more? What about you, Elle?
For me, it was actually sentence 1 of the book, honestly. So, like the first whole half page. So I'll just read it to you. So it's just like I said, it's like how he thinks of Vera. So he says, I'm in love with a villain. At least she calls herself a villain. But I do not see her as a villain. I see her as a girl, as a woman, as a friend, and as a lover. I see her as my star, one she thinks has burned too much for the both of us. And I don't know, there was just something about that, I think it's because, it was the sense of how Vera saw herself as a villain, because obviously she cheated with a married man, came across so strongly in Love in English. And so I enjoyed hearing from his POV, how, he released her of that, how he was like, no, I'm in this with you, so I understand how you're not the villain. How this just happened, and we have this connection, and it's, you didn't, seek me out to try and steal me from my wife, and I don't know. So as soon as the book started, I was like, okay, I don't know. I was just like, all right, I can't wait to read the rest of this. So no, I totally loved it from the get-go. What about you, Liv?
I have to agree. I loved him too. It's just, I literally went from reading Love in English and just one clicked, Love in Spanish, and just started right away. So to me, like, the story kind of never ended. It just grew longer. So the love from Love in English kind of just kept going, and then it just grew with everything he did, the way he defended her, which you didn't kind of see that in Love in English. You know, in Love in English, he says that thing to his wife, and everybody's like, oh, no, he did not just say that. And then he explains it, you know, as into why he said it and whatnot. And you just, the way he takes care of her, the way, you know, he's loving with his daughter, the way he wants to put Vera first, but he's torn between his career and everything. It was just, I felt like he was, to me so far, and I know I'm kind of saying this because as we've read, or if you've listened to our previous book boyfriends, it's kind of hard for me to get over Alec, but Mateo has taken... Mateo's on top for me now. Like, he's up there. I'm sorry, Penelope Ward, but Mateo's up there. What about you, Faith? When did you fall in love with him?
Like I said, from the first book, obviously you love him because he's this mysterious dude, but and a word that I keep thinking of describing him with, like machismo. Am I saying that right? Like that like, I don't know, macho man who just has the whole entire package. But what I love about him in this book and being in his head is that this poor guy is, like, struggling, and he's vulnerable, and he has to defend women, and he has to defend everything. He has to defend his career, his life, him walking out the damn door. So I love that he was not perfect, and I love that he was afraid, so deeply afraid to lose. Like, when he says to her, I'm so afraid this, well, he doesn't say this to her, this is something he's thinking himself, I'm so afraid the stars will take their brightest one away from me. And then when he finally makes the decision, when it comes down to the things that matter most in my life, she trumps everything. Like, he was finally, in this book, you finally get that, you know, in the past book, you're learning that he has this background to him, this little girl who means everything to him. And of course, his daughter is still going to be very important to him. But in this book, you learn where is it. He's going to have to do everything and anything to keep her his. So that, to me, was why I fell more in love with him. He was more of a real, relatable, vulnerable person. What about you, Babs?
So, okay, it's no joke that I have a hard time with Mateo. It's a really 50-50 relationship with him for me. It's like the love of wanting to eat food and not wanting to get fat. It's like, that's how I feel about him. You know, I really love him, but I'm really angry with him still. But it's okay. So there was a moment where he was, I love when men bare their souls, when they give out everything they have, when they tell you what's really going on instead of trying to mask it. And that part for me was when they were in San Sebastian. I gotta feel this. They're in San Sebastian. He asked Vera something. I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to ruin anything for you. But he asked her something, and she gives him an answer that he doesn't want. Clearly, that was hello, spoiler. It is, you're breaking me, I tell her in a ragged whisper. Her eyes dart to the side, but she won't find any answers out there. They all lie in me. They're all there if she wants them. He's literally telling her he's just breaking. And that part to me broke my heart, because I got to see Mateo, not this man who just wants to keep Vera there, not this man who wants to have this life outside of what he thought he once was, but, you know, he bears his soul. So that's kind of where I felt a little bit more in love with Mateo. So what were your thoughts on, oh, sorry, Liv, go ahead. Do you want to enter that one?
I actually put this on our review specifically for Barb, because I know she had such a tough time with Love in English when Mateo kind of defends his ex-wife from hitting Vera. So when you finally get to see Mateo react, not only to his ex-wife, because you kind of see his anger, but to the paparazzis, and you get to see a Mateo you didn't see before, because in Love in English he was very calm, even when like people, when they were at what was that I can't say the name of the hotel that they were teaching people. Yes, Las Palabras, whatever. And even when there was a confrontation with Vera and one of the other girls there, he was still very calm, and he was just very, like, serious all the time. And then you get to Love in Spanish, and here comes that Latin fire out of his butt. So I wanted to know, like, what did you girls think of, like, that actual side of him? Just like a quick, give me what you thought. Faith?
this is probably gonna be unanimous all around the board, I believe, and it's kind of like, thank you, finally, way to show and not tell. We all as authors know the whole show and tell thing. Like, how many times did he tell her? But then when he did that, that was like a freaking slap in her damn face. So him defending her finally, thank you. That's what I remember reading it going, thank you. So, Babs, did he redeem himself?
He redeemed himself when he stood up to those bitchy moms and when he decked that dude in the face. I was like, finally, thank God, because dude, like, I love you, but like I said, it's that pull. And now I have dubbed Mateo and Vera Matera, okay? They're this fabulous couple, and they go together so well because now I see the fight in him. Now I see it, and that's what I want. I don't need him to be an alpha. I don't need him to be this, but I need the fight. I need to see that he wants this, not just go catch her on a plane. No, you need to protect your woman. Okay, sorry, I'm calm now. What about you, Elle?
Well, I wasn't as upset as Babs was about the whole thing because honestly, I understood him, like, tippy-toeing around the ex-wife. I did get it because of the daughter. And I think a lot of it was because of guilt. Because, he knows that it's his fault, that the marriage is breaking up, and it's his fault that, his daughter is going to have to grow up in a home, without her two parents. So I got why he was kind of pussyfooting around there for a bit. But I agreed. It was time, and I was happy to see when, like Liv said, the Latin fire came out, and he was like, okay, enough. Enough of this. So, yeah. And Liv, what about you?
My quote to this was simple. I think I sent it to you girls. About fucking time. Like, I'm Brazilian, so I kind of consider myself, like, Latin. And we're all hotheads. So I'm here thinking, like, dude, where's that, like, Latin salsa fire? Get it out of you. So I was very, 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 very excited. He put his foot down and was like, about fucking time. Like, no means no. What about our swoon-worthy moments? Faith, what was yours?
Okay, without just giving Karina props for just writing an entire book of swoon, because, like you said, Elle, not Elle, I'm sorry, this was Liv. I think Mateo just screams swoon-worthy. Like, everything about him was swoon. Ooh, like, I could picture myself literally standing in front of him, oohing and eyeing. So if I had to really pinpoint a moment where I completely fell completely over the top, was when he thought he was losing Vera, and there are certain events that unfold in the book, again, not to give anything away, but you're wondering where they're going to end up. Like, are they going to end up together? Are they not? There are things that, and it's their last night together before he thinks he's going to lose her for forever, and they make love, and he says to her, slowly, slowly, I tell her in Spanish, we make love slowly as it prolongs the night. And I was like, oh my God, like, what guy has the willpower to, like doesn't he want to, this is the last time he's going to see her, maybe, like, bang her brains out. No, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to prolong the night, nice and slow. And I was like, wow, okay, Mateo, you got my vote. So that was mine. What about you, Elle?
For me, it was the letter. The letter, like the contents of the letter that he had written Vera, timeline-wise, it would have been back in Love and English, but he never actually gave her the letter. And the whole fact that he kept the letter and never showed it to Vera, but revisited it himself when things were getting, the outside world was causing problems for them. He'd revisit it so he remembered exactly what it was that he was fighting for. So for me, that was, like, totally swoon-worthy. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I was trying to picture, like, a regular guy first of all, writing the letter, and secondly, keeping it, and third, like, revisiting it, so.
Right.
What about you, Liv?
Let's see. It's hard. It's so hard to pick your most favorite swoon-worthy moment, because he was just, like, I just want to be like, he's just, I love him. Like, it's the way Karina wrote him, the way he speaks to her. It was just, like, and I'm sitting there and I'm, like, reading on my Kindle, and you're like, highlight. I want to memorize this. Highlight. And then by the time I'm like, wait, I have to go back and reread, because I keep sitting here highlighting the whole time, because he was just so amazing. But this was definitely a quote that stuck out with me. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I will go down in my grave saying it. You are my star, my light, my love. And it doesn't matter if you believe it or not, because it's the truth, and the truth will always find a way to shine. For a man to sit there and say that to you, you're just like, doesn't matter if the world is ending, Armageddon's outside, we got this. Like, to me, that was it. Like, he was so, it's so hard to describe it, like, without giving so much away to, the viewers, but it's just, he was perfect. Imagine a guy saying that to you. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. I'm going down in my grave saying it. You are my star, my light, my love. Swoon. Seriously. What about you, Babs?
That one's going to be a little tough to beat. Okay, so it's their last night, possibly, in Madrid together. And he says, you are my star. How many people on this earth have their own star? And you shine just for me. How could anyone else ever compare to this? Hello, yes. Tie me up to the bed. I'll live there forever. Like, I don't even care. If someone tells me I'm their own star, I mean, that's amazing. The most I get is, oh, you look pretty nice tonight.
And, like, you have to remember, right? Because, like, I don't know about you when you're reading. Like, I'm reading all these things he's saying, and I'm like, okay, and he's saying this in a Spanish accent.
Yeah, I try and push through that, and I'm just like,
right?
Yes.
And then I'm like highlighting, and I mean, every page has highlights. That was the tough one.
Now, we're almost towards the end of our podcast. We're trying to make them quicker for you because it's, if you want them to go longer, send us an email and we'll sit here and chat with you for 3 hours. But, we don't want to keep your whole time. We kind of just want to give you what the book is about. If you choose to read it, great. And if not, that's on you. You're lost because we only read books. So we get to this part where it's called I Wish I Wrote That. Since we are 4 authors, we will always come across something that, you're like, damn, I wish I wrote that. So this is our segment. And for me, I took a quote from the book, and it says, through it all, we have each other. 2 exiled souls. We pay for our sins with each kiss. We feel our mistakes with each touch. That quote speaks milestones for anyone and anything you do in life. It's that quote that you kind of just, they understand how wrong they are, they understand their sins, but with each kiss, that was definitely, I can't even speak. I love this book so much. It's just, I'm like stuttering here. It's, they've been through everything together, and at the end, it's like, they're still fighting for what they believe in, which is their love. What about you, Babs?
Can I just say we haven't seen you like this attached to a book, boyfriend, since Alec. For real. This is powerful because you were like, you would have licked the screen for Alec. So
sure would.
It's pretty awesome. So my favorite Matera, okay, I wish I would have wrote that. But fools are those who fall in love, and I was a fool. I mean, that's just, it's so, to me, like, those I wish I wrote that's were the ones, to me, that are just so natural, so realistic, the ones you can just relate to. So that was mine. How about you, Faith?
I'm the same way. Every I wish I wrote that is something that is like almost like a fortune cookie thing, or like a phrase that comes out and it's like, shit, like, why didn't I ever think of that? But with Karina, like we said, her book is so poetic and lyrical that it's very hard to pick things, because I think your quote from the last book, Babs, was like something so simple about, what was it, like something whispers on the skin or something like that. Just something as simple as that. So for me, mine was more of those fortune cookie ones. I had to narrow it down to 2. I couldn't pick one. So my first, they're both short, so forgive me. The first one was, time does peculiar things when you're grieving. It runs slow like syrup without the sweetness. And I've grieved in my life, and I completely understood that and that analogy to it. And as a writer, how hard is it to sometimes pick an analogy that isn't ridiculously stupid? Like, oh yeah, her eyes went wide like saucers. Like, it's like, come on, let's think of something. And my other favorite one, I think, was when I think him and Vera were having a conversation about his ex-wife, and he says to her, sometimes love just stops. Sometimes it needs to be fed. And I really thought that as a married woman, I'm with my husband for 20 years. We've been together since we were teenagers. I thought that was so true and real. You need to feed your love. You can't just rely on love. Love does not conquer all. It needs to be fed. So those are my 2 favorites. What about you, Elle?
I picked one. Well, I'll just read it. So, I can't get any closer to her, can't hold on to her any tighter, and yet she feels just like I've dreamed. Real, whole, loved. I feel like I'm dying and being reborn at the same time. And I just really loved the last line of that about being dying and being reborn at the same time. So yeah, but like you said, there's so many like quotable quotes in this love in English and love in Spanish that it's crazy. So it's really hard to pick one.
Yes. And as you can tell, I've been eating chocolate this whole time because I just can't get over Mateo.
She's feeding her feelings.
I am.
Feeding your love. You gotta feed those feelings.
Oh my God.
So, casting for Mateo. Faith, have you changed yours?
No, but I have to say that the cover model is pretty damn perfect on the cover. I think he's a really good. I mean, I'm still going with my Eddie Cibrian, but like, it's very hard to find this perfect Spaniard who whispers sweet nothings in my ear. I don't know. It's hard. This is a really hard one. I've never had such trouble picturing somebody in my head. So I'm gonna go with her guy on the cover. I don't know what his name is, but he's hot. We'll take him. Babs, what about you?
I'm changing mine. I'm changing it. Like, now that I've read Mateo, I can picture him and see him in a whole different way. So I'm going with Joe Manganiello. And I know that's not how you say his name, but pronunciation, I didn't get a class for it. So it's something of this sort. Now, I picked him because I picture Mateo now older. I can picture him now in this nice, gruffy, salt and pepper hair and some scruff on his face, and I picture him as Joe. Like, that's who he is to me now.
Manganiello.
Yeah, I know, but Manganiello just makes him sound sexy.
Manganiello. Because she'd eat him.
I would so eat that Manganiello.
And what's funny is that he's now engaged to Sofia Vergara, and Sofia would be like the perfect Isabel.
Yes. And then he's going to leave her, and he's going to go find himself some awesome tatted Canadian.
There goes Elle. It's me.
Just saying, just in case. All right. How about you, Elle? Let's see that man candy. I know you have
Okay, so I'm still with Pedro. I know Pedro's popular in the book boyfriend world, but I got an especially naked picture of him tonight. So I'm still with Pedro. But I agree. It's hard to find somebody that really, really matches him, but I was happy with this.
I'm happy with my choice.
What about you, Liv?
I am actually changing mine. I'm going with William Levy, a dark brown hair William Levy. He's actually a Spaniard. I don't know exactly if he is from Spain, or I know he comes from either Hispanic or Spanish background.
Is he a model?
He's an actor.
He was on Dancing with the Stars, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, he was. He was on Dancing with the Stars. They wanted him. A lot of people wanted him for 50. They loved him. He's really good looking. Yes.
Yeah, he was. He was my muse for when I was writing. And as I was reading Love and Spanish, I'm like, oh yes. And he's older and whatever. So yes, definitely, William Levy. So. Now on to Kiss, Marry, Do, because we're nice and we're not going to kill any of our book boyfriends. We've changed it to Kiss. And our choices are Mateo, Phoenix, Casey, and Alec.
Although I gotta say, I am curious who we would kill. Is there someone that you would kill?
Isabel.
Oh no, I would kill. In Phoenix.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sully.
Yeah.
Sully. Okay, I'm just curious if we'd kill anybody. I mean, I'd probably kill Isabel.
Yeah.
And I'd probably spank Mateo. Not in that way. Wouldn't kill him, but I'd spank him. All right. Sorry.
All right,
continue.
who is your Kiss, Marry, Do?
Okay, so I've kicked Phoenix off. Not for any bad reasons. I just, anyway. So I would kiss Casey because, I would marry Alec. I have to marry him because I can't not marry that man. I think I would want him around for all times, and, I would do Mateo. I want a siesta with him in all the wrong ways. How about you, Liv?
Oh God, yeah, it's hard to top that one. I would put Phoenix in the cuddle. I would cuddle with Phoenix.
A cuddle, okay?
We're gonna cuddle. We're just gonna tell him. We're just gonna cuddle. Take a spoon. Can't fork yet. I would kiss Casey. I don't know. There's something about Casey and the way he speaks and he carries himself. I just imagine him to be a really good kisser.
Mm-hmm.
This is very hard for me because I would have always married Alec. I might cry. I've always would have married Alec. I thought I was going to have his babies one day with the tattoos and the Lucky Charms and the glasses and Lucky the Lab, and I thought I was going to have it all, but unfortunately he has been bumped down. And I'm going to do Alec and marry Mateo. What about you, Elle?
Well, we share a brain because I was the same. I was kiss Casey, do Alec, and marry Mateo. Because I feel like with Mateo, you get like the best of all worlds. Like you get a really good fuck, and you get like this poetic man who just loves you with his whole soul. So
and you
I
get to live in
can't beat that.
Spain.
And you get to live in Spain.
Yes.
So yeah, that's mine. What about you, Faith?
Oh my God, I'm the only one giving Phoenix love. I loved Phoenix. So I'm kissing Phoenix because remember, we never got to get his due status.
You didn't get a test drive him.
Yeah. I'm doing Casey because he was freaking evil as sin in the bed. Loved it. And he was devious, I think. And I kind of like that. And I'm marrying Mateo because who the frig doesn't want to marry Mateo besides Babs? I mean, I need to live in Spain. I need to be whispered sweet nothings in that Spanish
because
accent.
I'm going to get those sexy glasses looking back at me every single night.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get matching shamrock tattoos. And then we're going to sit and eat freaking Lucky Charms every morning staring into each other's eyes. That's what I'm going to get, ladies.
Cream.
We
With
could
my
double
ass
date.
cream.
All right, fine. We could double date then.
I'll
Swingers.
share them.
We'll be swingers.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we are kicking off our podcast. So tune in to our next time, which, by the way, we are going to be reading none other than 50 Shades of Grey. We are doing a reread for the infamous book as the movie is getting ready to come out. So if you would like to do a reread with us, send us an email. Shoot us, a comment down below on our YouTube page. We're also on iTunes. But before we go off, I want to remind everybody, we are not a blog. We are not a blog. We do not review. We honestly just read books because we love them, and then we just sit here and drink some wine or tea or whatever, and we talk about it. So if you have not subscribed to us, please do. You can subscribe to us on our YouTube page and also on our iTunes page. Our email is down below. Our website is down below. We are on Facebook and Twitter. I guess Sue died off the world, so we're not on Sue. But you can find us on all the other major social media outlets. And I think that's it for tonight. Bye, everyone. Say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. You can find out who will be on upcoming shows and what books we'll be discussing, as well as more about our hosts at www.bookboyfriendpodcast.com. See you next time when we add another boyfriend to the ranks.